I remember every time you remember.
Fair enough. What are we doing? Okay. Week 4. Oops. Is this week 5? Yeah. Well, let's take care of that right now. Okay, so we're going to talk about the circular saw. We're going to do a safety meeting on the circular saw, which is a super dangerous tool. John, can you grab one out there, just so we can look at it in a minute? So I'll read the introduction. Could you hit the lights, please? Have somebody back there hit the lights, please? Thank you. Okay, so circular saw safety introduction. Circular saws, also known as skill saws, are very handy tools. However, when you plug a saw into a power cord, you have created a power supply for a tool that can easily kill or maim you for life. Therefore, it's important to use common sense and follow the proper procedures when you use a circular saw. So let's start with preparation. And Brandon, would you read that?
Yeah, be sure the saw is unplugged before you inspect or modify it. Use the correct saw depending on which hand you use. If you use your right hand to run the saw, use one with a blade on the left. If you use the left hand to run a saw, use the one with a blade on the right. Use the proper blade. A blade that is cutting wood or can shatter tile or masonry. Be sure the blade is balanced. An improperly balanced blade can use the saw to shatter or jerk in your hands. Adjust the saw so if it just clears the bottom of the surface being cut. Follow the manufacturer's recommendations.
Okay, let's stop. Let's let somebody else go. Mike, you go. Michael Silva.
Wait.
Support the surface being cut.
Okay, yeah. Support the surface being cut. Do not let it move around while you're cutting. This may require 2 supports on each side of the cut and possibly a few clamps. Supports should be sturdy and designed to prevent the blade from being pinched as, sorry, I gotta move the little screens, pinched as the surface separates. Keep your work area clean and well lit. Cluttered benches and dark areas invite accidents. While the saw is still unplugged, check the lower blade guard. The lower blade guard is a spring-loaded cover that surrounds the saw blade when not in use. It should retract smoothly and snap back over the blade when released. Check all of these screws and bolts to make sure they are tight. Be sure the switch is off before plugging the saw.
Okay, how about Claire using the saw?
Wear the proper equipment for the job you are doing. Consider safety goggles, ear protection, and gloves. Make your cuts straight and keep the power cord out of the line of the saw. Keep hands away from the cutting area behind the saw blade. Never remove, strap back, or otherwise modify the guard on the saw. Stand to the side of the saw to protect yourself from kickback. Keep your finger off the trigger or switch until you are ready to make a cut. Do not wear jewelry or loose clothing.
Okay, let's somebody else. Evan.
Do not cut a board in the middle that is just lying on 2 sawhorses. The board will sag or collapse about 2/3 of the way through the cut and cause kickback. Do not push the saw too fast. Never depend on a blade guard to protect you. Use common sense. Do not put anything you do not want to be cut into the path of the blade. When you're done cutting, take your finger off the trigger and do not move the saw. Let the motor and the blade come to a complete stop. Never lift or move the saw from cut while it's still running. Remember, the blade coasts to a stop after the switch is released. Be aware of the necessary time it takes for the blade to come to a complete stop, and don't let it brush up against you.
Okay, Tyler.
Kickback. Kickback is a sudden reaction to a pinched, bound, or misaligned saw blade, which causes an uncontrolled saw to lift up and out of the workpiece towards the operator. If you feel resistance and notice the motor wind down, take the following steps. Stop forward motion with your saw and release the trigger and hold the saw steadily in place until the blade comes to a complete stop.
And in conclusion, in order to stay safe when using a circular saw, remember to use common sense. Properly prepare the use of this to use the saw and the saw properly. Doing so will help you avoid dangers such as the consequences of kickback. It'll also help you to work more efficiently and with luck, keep your fingers on your hand where they belong. Lights, please. Okay. So, yeah, there's a, we could do a class on, that saw. But the things I want you to remember, if you're not familiar with worm drive saws or circular saws, so this is a skill saw, and people call it's like tissues and Kleenex, right? It's just a brand of a 7¼ worm drive saw, heavier than all get out. The kind of standards in the industry. Those Makitas, are they this heavy? Are they this heavy? I don't think they are. But anyway, don't peg your guard. So many guys, put a shim, or they tie a wire, or they peg their guard because you have to engage that guard when you're cutting something. And it might hinder the beginning of your cut slightly if you're not careful. So I usually peel it back when I start. And then when it gets going, I let it go. Never peg your guard. Because by pegging your guard, you got a super dangerous condition. Even if it's not plugged in. But it's a condition where if you just brush yourself like that, you could really do horrible damage to yourself. And God forbid, because you're working down here a lot. And this is where your femoral artery is. It's right up through here. And if you happen to nick that, you're going to be dead in about 2 minutes. So be really careful. Don't pick the guard. And also, if I'm cutting something like this material is 1 inch net. I want to adjust that saw to be about a 1/4 inch low. And then now my saw is at least dangerous. It's projecting down about a 1/4 inch. Now for the cleanest cut, I want the saw for the cleanest cut. I want the most blade. If I'm really concerned about the cut, it just means I have to be that much more careful. And then I think, did I tell you guys about that? Did I show you on the board about making that cutting guide for the saw? I think I did that.
We can see.
Copy and measuring. Anyway, I'm not going to do it tonight. Just wanted to show you the skill saw. Very dangerous tool. Very common carpentry tool. It cuts wood great. It's designed. It's designed for framing. It's designed for cutting cleanly and efficiently. Of course, the blade. Blade is everything. All right, so we're going to go through the book, the building layout, but before we do, I want John to demo. So please, all right, would you just give us an impromptu demonstration of that tool and tell us what it does, please?
So this is a 3-line laser.
Freeland?
Yeah, I was gonna ask if like a cordless skill saw, would that be less dangerous or more dangerous because it like has a battery?
Good question. I don't know the RPMs that they turn at, or how fast they start up. Now, there's no magnetic start here, so there's no build up to start. When you pull the trigger of a skill saw, it fires right up. I think it's 2600 RPM, I can't remember exactly, but I suspect the RPM is the same, so when you pull that trigger, if you've got a slower start up, it might be a little safer saw, like a magnetic start, like the saw, like this has.
Hey Rod, can you spin the camera, please?
Oh, sorry.
No worries, thank you.
That's all right. No, you gotta keep me on track here.
Is there a way to raise your volume as well?
Yes, there is. How's that?
Thank you.
Just kidding. I mean, how's that? Is that better? Is that better?
Yes,
Is
slightly, yeah.
that okay with you guys? Can you hear them? Okay. That's right. We don't have to hear them too much anyway. Is that better for you? Because I'll just turn this way the hell up, or way the heck up. Okay, so, yeah, the fact that the blade is spinning and is where it is, I think they're both equally dangerous, but I haven't felt those saws. I haven't felt how they feel or how heavy they are, so I will tell you more when I do for that.
It's nice not having a cord trip over.
That's really, well, not just not trip over, but not cut through, not have to deal with, not have over your shoulder, not have all the myriad places that you can get messed up with a cord. Not the least of which, if you've got a whole bunch of cords on your job site, which we definitely used to have, and we stepped on them and we tripped them. Yes.
I think a lighter saw is more dangerous because it might bounce up, like there's less downforce on it.
Maybe, I think they gotta be heavy enough. So what was that? Oh, just wanted to, I wanted to make sure we were teaching them.
That's okay.
That's not.
I will, fourth week,
Yeah.
but that's stuff that. I'll put it in there, because I'll probably
Okay.
end up grabbing it.
Okay,
but
'cause
That's part of the stuff that he didn't do.
Got it. So, yes,
What's the proper way to transport a skill saw, like just carrying it around the workplace?
Grab the handle with your mouth.
That's not good. On Wednesday, is the class gonna be still on Zoom or is it gonna be in person? I don't know how to
unplug.
He's going to, I'm still gonna be on Zoom because he's gonna teach.
Don't drag your cord, or if you're just
remotely and
moving from
everything.
one locale
Don't
to
forget
another,
next Tuesday is your
unplug.
exam.
Just pick up your cord. so your
Chapters
cord's not
1
dragging.
through 8.
Instead of stepping
And
on
I
one
only
and
have
click on.
homework, I just went through.
And if you're carrying it
And I
plugged in,
have
just
homework
make
with
sure you-
him.
just like a gun.
There's only about 4 of you that have
If it's
all the
not plugged
homework.
in, you can carry it all you want.
like a gun pointed away from what you don't want to cut.
Yeah. And the thing is, with the guard on, that's, it's hard to get in there. You can get in there still, but with the guard on, you can, with the guard on, you can go like that. You're not hurt yourself.
What I would suggest for you is before next Tuesday is do all your homework.
Just a review.
Because do all the review questions, because a lot of the questions on the quiz will be from that. Now, also some of my
You guys
questions
hear
are
this?
also from my lectures, so you'll have questions.
Yes.
My lecture.
And so next Tuesday, I'm giving the test in person here on paper.
If somebody's on a ladder and they want to pick up the skill set, what you want to do is because when you're on a ladder, you're holding on with one hand sometimes. So you want to hand the ladder, any tool that you're handing to somebody on a ladder, you want to hand it to them so that they can grip it by the handle. Because if you hand it to them like this, then they have to let go with their other hand to do the exchange and put the tool in your hand. So if somebody's up on a ladder, make sure you try to hand the tool to them with the handles so that they can grab it easily. And go and fall down on you because you don't want to get hurt. This is so you don't get hurt. It'll fall.
Yeah.
I hate when that happens.
kinds of saws, and we're not here to talk about saws. So, John, sorry for asking. Wait, I didn't answer your question. You had a question. Somebody over here had a question. I couldn't even answer. Had a hand up? No? Hey, what's your name? Flavio. Flavio, gotcha. Oh, that's right, Flavio. I think I marked you here because somebody said you were going to be late.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. You're here. Hey, did Alex Dominguez show up or Daniel Delgado?
Yeah, I was next door to James.
Alex?
Yeah, no, Daniel.
Daniel and Alex?
Yeah. I was in
How did I
James'
miss
place.
you, Alex? No, I'm sorry. It's not Alex at all. I got you, Alex. Is Adier, did Adier make it?
Yeah, I'm here, Ron.
Oh, you are? You're here on Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Everybody's here. Wow, get down. The full vote.
Hey Rodney, I got a quick circular saw.
Fire away.
So John and I were talking about, entry level saw,
Mm-hmm.
battery or core date, 6.5 or 7.25. What would you recommend?
7.25. Yeah, don't, even if you're gonna buy a skill saw, buy a 7.25 skill saw. If you've got the money, if you can afford it, and you think this is gonna be what you do. Okay, so let me back up a second. That 7.25 skill saw, you're gonna wanna cut lumber with.
Right.
You can cut plywood with it. You're made to cut lumber, and yes, you can cut plywood with it. If you plan to cut a bunch of plywood, not like siding plywood and stuff like that, but plywood, you plan to make some cabinets using clamps and using a saw, a skill type saw with a guide to cut things with, then think about saving up for a Festo. A Festo would not be a good saw. So there's a 55 millimeter plunge saw in that cabinet. When we get around the saws, I can show it to you, but it's not a saw that you want to frame with. It's a finished saw. So if you're going to do framing and rough work, that's how you're starting out, form work and cutting stakes and things like that, and fencing. Get a skill saw. I mean, you really want to have a skill saw.
What's your take on the 7.25s that have 2 batteries on them? Have you seen those?
Well, that's what we got.
They have 2 batteries.
They have
on
2
them?
batteries. And I don't know enough about the battery tech.
Yeah.
And I haven't picked one up yet with 2 batteries in it to tell you how I feel like the balance is and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I had a Rockwell 7.25 one brush skill saw. Pretty much weighs exactly the same as a skill saw. Everything about it probably exactly the same. And I had a miter guide and a bunch of cutting guides, and a 60-tooth really fine tooth blade that I did a lot of finish work on too until I got better saws. Anything else? Like I said, we can talk about saws forever. Let's talk about lasers right now, because lasers are big in building layout. And John has a laser. It's really versatile. It's not the spinning laser that I'm going to set up for you guys, which we use more on building sites, as well as indoors, but we definitely use them on building sites. This laser would more than likely be used indoors, but you could use it outdoors. It's green, so it's easier to see, right? Than the red. The red is really hard to see. You pretty much have to have a receiver, an audible receiver, which we'll get to. You'll see that you can receive. Well, I'll just tell you what they do briefly, but once this is level, then it's self-leveling, correct? So is this. This one and this one aren't. I'm going to show you how to level those guys on the tripods. They're self-leveling, and once they achieve a level and you turn them on, they're shooting a laser line of light. It's dead level. That's dead level. Basically, follow the curvature of the earth. But outside, especially in the bright sunlight, you cannot see that red line. Period. So there's receivers. There's receivers that allow you to see it. And there's audible receivers, especially on this, that allow you to hear it on this level, and then you see what it does. This has a green laser, which is a little more expensive, but these are a lot more visible outside. Are they better for your eyes? Do you have them burn yourself with the eyeball? Anyway.
You're right. I've always been green instead of red. So this is more of a solid state laser. It's the first big difference in these was there's no moving parts inside. It's perfectly shaped prism. Convection laser, convection line over it. So there's no moving parts at all, other than it's free flow, so no gimbal. This, for a long time, this was only used mostly inside. They actually turn it on. You set cabinets, tile. This was rather bright.
And really, I'm going to interject right now, is that back in the day, the only people that had these lasers were the ceiling guys. Guys that did hung their ceilings with lasers. And those are the guys that use lasers. And those are the only guys that use lasers. And now, thank God, everybody uses them. It's available.
Probably the most basic function for this class, probably going towards it, is setting cabinets, one level and square. Is you perfectly level line all the way around. It's within an 1/8 inch of about 250 feet, so it's quite accurate. It's pretty close to most of these instruments. And it also, because it has two, well, it has a horizontal line perfectly set, and then it has two vertical lines. So we can set two squares, which will shoot in with the right eye.
And you can also set jams too. It's a great thing for setting jams, right? Anything you need to be set plumb, because it delivers a plumb line as well as another.
So there's a lot of applications for, like, say, laying out tile on a wall.
Yeah.
But look at a horizontal and vertical lines.
Yeah.
And this is probably one of the first generations that came a few years ago to actually possibly see it outside. However, it also can be used with a receiver, like any of these lasers. And it's accurate up to 250 feet in an 1/8 of an inch. So we could square a decent sized house up. We could, have you gone over any of that?
Not yet.
But we get two lines that are perfectly perpendicular within an 1/8 of an inch over 250 feet. So starting with 2 points, we can go outside and actually square up a house and start laying out lines for a house. So this is kind of the newer generation. This is a big step up from the older ones that were maybe a little less powerful and not able to be used outside.
Yeah, it's an amazing piece of technology. I mean, it is. And to be able to square, that's pretty wild because, yes.
So how fragile are they? Because like, what if you scratch like the plastic and it comes out like, I don't know how the laser comes out, but isn't there like a little plastic something to like?
Yeah, there's a little, I believe it's a glass guard already.
Yeah, right.
It is relatively fragile.
The guts of it, you certainly wouldn't want to drop it, right?
However, this has the coin cell battery and it's in it all the time. It actually has a accelerometer, it has a heat sensor, and so even when there's no battery, it can tell if it's been dropped.
Huh.
Or if someone's knocked over, or someone left out and got too hot, it lose the calibration and it'll actually pop up a red light. Or like something happened to it.
And then how does it get recalibrated?
Well, you can do a self-test, so you can make marks on the walls where it's showing up, turn it around, and at every single point, check the line, and then if it's off, you send it off, and for, I think the point is about $190, so reset it for you.
Wow. Yeah, and so another nice thing about this is that it will bolt onto a tripod. But because it's self-leveling like it is, you can just put it right there.
Yeah.
It's level. Or you can set it on a block wall, or you can set it on a couple of sawhorses, or you can set it on a countertop. So you can set it on the floor. Yes.
How much do those lasers go for? I paid about $550. I think now they're more about $4. So maybe $450. They come down a bit.
And there are cheaper versions. DeWalt makes a smaller version, but it still does. It still does a square line, still does a plumb line, still does
Most tile setters and even cabinet setters even now use what's called a cross-line laser. So it projects two lines out forward, projects across. And you can get into that for under $100, and that's enough to set a lot of things. You can get back at the proper angle, and you have that perfect right angles. But it won't necessarily project the ceiling or the floor.
There's a lot of glass guys use that too.
Yeah, that's surely what. Yeah,
So would you want to cheap out on one of these, or would you want to get like?
you'd want to get a Bosch. You'd want to do your due diligence, but really, the people that are making them now, they're pretty good. What I wouldn't buy is one from Harbor Freight. You know what I mean? Because you probably could get $100 one from Harbor Freight, and it's kind of contempt prior to investigation because I never have had used one that I bought from Harbor Freight or known anyone that had. I just don't trust them. It's not where you want to cheap out, but there's certainly there's a range of costs, and Bosch is a pretty recognized brand, But by the same token, these are getting more and more popular, so they're making more. So the cost is coming down. And they also maybe smaller. We've got kind of about this small.
Another big consideration of buying a laser, and one of the reasons I bought this one, is all these lasers, this one and this one, they all take double A's or
Yeah.
D's or something.
Yeah.
This takes the Bosch 12-volt battery, the same the Milwaukee one, the newer ones, for about $400. They take a battery that may match some of your other tools, and they're not, I didn't bring any double A's to work today, I guess we're driving to the store.
Surprised you didn't get the Milwaukee.
Well, I looked at it today. I've been looking at, if there's something else that was cheaper that I wouldn't mind putting on a tripod. Milwaukee, the brand new Milwaukee one is about half the rating this has
Oh, wow.
for distance and accuracy at that distance.
Wait a second, say that again, please.
The new Milwaukee one has about half the rating for distance, and at that distance, it's at half the distance, it's an eighth of an inch.
And how much is it?
This one's like 250 feet at an eighth of an inch. Milwaukee,
Milwaukee cost, you know?
I think it was about four.
So about, they're
351.
comparably priced.
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit less, but you can see having square to work off of is pretty cool. This is plumb and level. And also, just consider this is that it doesn't really matter where this line occurs. So cabinets are set at 36 inches off the highest part of the floor. So if your floor runs downhill, this whole run, this 25, 30-foot run, if it runs downhill easily an inch, then you'd set cabinets at 36, your kitchen cabinets, on the high part of the floor. So they would be 36 inches minimum. And then you would set them dead level all the way down, and then they'd wind up being 37 down there. There's an inch off, right? Cabinets have to be set dead level and dead plumb. If they're dead level in both directions, then they are dead plumb. But you don't need to necessarily set this guy at 34.5 inches, which is where the top of your cabinets are going to be. You set him anywhere, it doesn't really matter. It's an index line. So when you go down, so you just measured your floor, right? And by measuring from the floor to the line over there and the floor to the line over there, it falls down an inch because it's greater by an inch, the measurement you just took. So then you get a line at 36 down there and measure from this line to that 36-inch line, and that's your benchmark. And that's where you set your cabs, right? If that turns out to be, just if we wanted to set 34.5 at our cabinets off this rough floor, and this guy was, you can read that guy at 52 3/8. 16 3/8, so an inch and a half, so 17 7/8. Just off the top of my head, this would be the number. You'd come up with a number that equals the 34.5 that you want, and then you just make some hash marks and bring your cabinets to that. So you don't have to keep this going. You can make some hash marks on the wall, so you don't have to use the battery. You can make marks on the wall and then shut this thing down, or keep it running. I don't like them running the job sites. I don't like looking at them. I don't like also. I like them a lot, using them. I just don't like them running all the time. And then you'll see when we fire this guy up, it's spinning. So see, it's a little bit weird because it runs a line. This runs a line all the way around the room too. How does it do that without spinning?
prison, and these are very narrow.
All the way around the room?
Yeah, they're a little gap.
Yeah, I
Maybe
see some little
20
gaps.
to 20 feet, maybe.
So any questions about this here laser? Not one question. Last like put down.
10 years, 20 years.
Yes?
Yeah.
Well, Alex, one of your classmates, they knocked it down the other day, but we won't say anything. I've had this, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I dropped it about 15 feet one time. It was on the magnetic stand though, so most of the impact was at the stand. It was fine. I didn't need to be recalibrated. I don't know, I would guess probably less than 10 years, but it just depends. If you let anyone else use it.
How about the batteries? And I guess that would depend on use too.
The batteries with the 2 amp hour 12 volt battery, it seems to do a couple hours. This is on medium low brightness for the laser. It also turns up brighter to make it actually visible in daylight. However, the only way to turn it up is to use a Bluetooth app. If you can't get the Bluetooth app to connect, it's a little interesting.
You can't increase the intensity of the laser without a Bluetooth app on your phone.
The future.
Wow.
So it does make sense because, you know, let's say you're lining up on a point here and a point here,
Yeah.
trying to get a perpendicular line over that wall.
Yeah,
Every time you touch the laser, or Rodney walks on the wall, walks on the floor, he might bounce the laser.
Yeah.
So if I use the Bluetooth app to turn it on and off, because I don't want it on all the time, I'm not touching the laser and I'm keeping that exact point.
oh, that really makes sense.
And
Really does.
especially, let's say your points are 100 feet apart on each side, it can take, you know, it can take 20, 30 minutes to set up, to get perfectly straight to those points. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does. John, thank you so much for demoing that green wash laser.
What else do you use it for besides cabinets?
I've used it water tile. I use it for checking walls quite often.
Wainscoting, checking ceilings, checking floors, plumbing up jams, squaring doors.
I built sheds, small additions and stuff, using this as the only squaring factor for the whole thing. It's accurate after that.
You want your heads plain? Because you got casing, right? You got multiple windows and corners, and you've got doors and hallways, and you've got everything that you need to plane. That's what you'd use that for. You'd run a laser level and you do everything indexed on that, so everything plain. Like it's supposed to.
When you say checking the ceiling, you just mean like a straight checking the
No, not the straight to the level. Because just like cabinets have to be set dead level, windows have to be set dead level, and doors have to be set dead level. Crown molding also has to be set dead level.
Right, never.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, don't stare at that. So for instance, let's say we want a level ceiling, let's say like at Sea Ranch, we have a ceiling that planes into a door jam.
Yep.
Let's say the whole building is that way, you have about a 1/4 inch of tolerance over 6,000 to 7,000 square feet. So I might have to come over here, check what my ceiling is right here. So we are exactly 50 feet. There we go. Here. We are 53 1/8 down. So from there to here, this is 1 1/8 higher than it was over there.
That is insane.
Which is quite a bit. And so if we have a detail, we're trying to match reveals above doors, windows, that would be pretty significant.
So might take. This grid. This grid should have been hung at level by somebody. Oh, you got some splaining to do, Lucy. Yeah, this thing's- I got it 7/8 out of it.
So if the guy that put this in and had a level like this, hopefully wouldn't have this problem.
Sure as heck should, but yeah, who knows when this. was
Or
done.
the building's falling off the hill, you know.
No, and it's probably one of those things. So because I went so long with you guys, it kind of, made you sit longer than I probably should have last week. I'm reverting back to the way I've been doing my summers. So we're gonna do 50 minutes on, 10 minutes off. So as John rolls it up, and actually I'm gonna start out with an even longer one. I've got 14 minutes until 7. That clock's wrong. Come back at 7. We'll go for another 50-minute block. We'll take a break, and then maybe another 50-minute block. Maybe not. Okay. See you back here. See you guys back here. See you Zoomers back here at 7 o'clock. And that says 4 o'clock. Back here at 7 o'clock.
Sounds good.
All right.
There goes Zach. Okay, so this tripod, this is an adapter. Goes in the screw in this tripod, and it'll take some smaller units like that laser that John had to go on a tripod like this. And we have another box full of some levels that mount into things, that mount to tripods and different laser instruments. I looked for it and didn't find it, but I'm not all that concerned because I think it's a total POC. This is a builder's level. This is also a builder's level with a slight difference. This is called a transit. The difference between a transit, this only shoots level. It'll allow me to, for level sight line. This shoots level. Once you get it level, you have a leveler here. There's no lasers here, so look at right there is where we level it in all four directions, just like this one is. I'll show you how I did that. It's the same principle. Take it back. This is a three-legged one. So I'll level this one too and show you how to do it. But this one, once you establish level, you can also shoot grades. Shoot grades and elevations. There's a whole kind of science to using this. This is set at 90 now, or set at level. It's got a positive stop. It sets it level, keeps it level. So when you have a 4 screw level, you level your tripod, and at a builder's level, this level and that level, as opposed to this level, it's important that you extend the legs and get it up to so you can use a sight glass, because it's a sight glass, and you don't want to be using your sight glass down like this. This isn't as important by any stretch of anybody's imagination because we don't really care. We're just establishing a level line. I mean, we care in some respects. We don't have anybody's eyes. We're just establishing a level line. We typically put this guy so it's right over the triangle part of the tripod. That's all I need to do. And it's once I turn it on, it will level itself. Might be Spain. So I'll bring it up sometimes too. Yes.
Do those use double A's, or what do you use the power?
You don't. There's no power. Oh, no power here. No power here. These are
a telescope?
exactly what they are.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a telescope. So it's a builder's level, and once this is level, and here's how I level it. I set the tripod high enough so I can use the sight glass without bending down too far. And I try to level it just by eye. And then I put the axis of my transit over these 2 screws, and I turn them like so. I get that down tight, but I try to turn them in like that. Same time, right? So I hit dead level on there, and I go over. That's staying level. 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 So it's dead level in 4 directions. I just proved it to myself that it's level. So, in the room, you can use something like, if you're inside or outside, generally you'd use this outside, but you can just as easily use it inside. Do that for me. Like that. Got it? Yep. So we shoot the floor here. Got a focus knob right there. Move it. Okay. And I'm reading 59 and an eighth. So I'm going to go over here. Okay. Keep holding it just like that. If you can do it. Yeah. Okay. Come on over here. Everybody, come. Do it. Just don't jostle. Not jostle the tripod. Just take a look at the side. Some of you can see the 59. Out of the way. See it? Take a look. See how sharp it comes in? It's pretty sharp. Yeah, it is. Still, I think it's 10 power. But you can see
What
it
do
from
you do with that? You just make a mark on the wall, or
So what you'd be doing in something like this, right? If with this level, this is the only level you have, you'd shoot various places on the floor and just read the tape and write it down. So let's just do that. Here, I want somebody, let's shoot, okay, that's fine. Tell me what you're reading here. What are you reading? Reading somewhere in here, right?
Yeah, can I turn it a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
So 59.
59 even?
No.
Right on the money?
Quarter?
Yeah, that's a big difference. Let me just make sure, because we're gonna shoot it someplace else too. Yeah, I got, actually, what just happened? What the hell happened? Yeah, 59 and a quarter right now.
No Jocelyn.
See it? See how clear it is? There's no question, right? No question what you're seeing. Good job. And I'll hold it for you.
It's getting tired.
I bet you are.
That's crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
I don't need to see it.
Oh, you guys aren't seeing this. Wait, there's no way you can see through the lens. Sorry, guys. You might have to move this. Is it still focused on it?
Yeah.
See the 58 or 58 and a quarter?
59.
59 and a quarter, is that what it is?
59 and a quarter, yeah.
Okay. Did I say 58? I did.
No, you said 59.
Oops. And you don't have to hold this down, right? You didn't have to hold the tape down. Did you know that? Did you know that?
It's all right. Yeah. Dude, what were you saying?
That-
I didn't have to hold it
You
down.
could, yeah, you were holding this down to keep the tape from retracting, right? Holding it down, but you can lock it.
Yeah,
Okay, so, but all tapes have a lock.
yeah, I know.
Okay, you didn't know that?
Yeah.
You didn't know that? Can you see it? Clear, huh?
That's cool, yeah.
No, that's me you're looking at. Keep turning, you get it yet? Pretty clear, huh? So before we ever use lasers, this is what we use. Establish level. Inside and outside. We need two people. No. So yeah, you always need two people. Just at this period. You always need two people. And so, what we would do, fence posts, right? You run a bunch of fence posts wild. You throw them in the ground, they're running wild. You're gonna trim them all at approximately 6 feet high, but your ground's uneven. So they're all plumbed in a hole, plumbed. So you've got a kicker this way, nailed, dead plumb that way. You got a kicker nailed that way, dead plumb that way. So it's plumb in both directions. Concrete goes off, knock the kickers out, set up the laser, you set up that guy, and you shoot each one, you make a pencil mark. You make a pencil mark. And cut them all off in place. So that's how you level to a tripod with a 4-screw unit. In a 3-screw unit. It's different.
How far could you see with those?
Depends on quality of the air, but you can go going 150 feet. Maybe even pushing 200 feet. Yes.
So would you not want to use those in
Any reason why not? For being means people might think you're a peeper.
LA? Well, in terms of the haircut quality.
Oh, yeah, you might, the air quality, there's ash, soot, smog or something in the air, right? You might, if you're going for a long shot, but for interior stuff and for smaller shots, like, 50 feet. Quality of the air, particulate matter in the air shouldn't matter much unless it's in a dust cover or something like that. But same thing, just slight lock. And then this guy, you put opposite 1 and nothing. turn these two. Watch which way it goes. Go over that one, nothing. Turn these two.
If there are any advantages of this compared to the laser level?
No batteries. Won't burn your eyes. Otherwise, no. The whole, I think the self-leveling is worth its weight in gold. I hate leveling these things. It's a pain in the nuts. And if you get it from party, it's a pain in the butt. But if you get one that's temperamental, like I have one that's really temperamental, and it's just, that's embarrassing. How long it takes me to level the darn thing.
How much does this cost?
These you can get for about $300.
Okay, so it's actually not that much cheaper than.
No, it's a very precision instrument. And the dumpy levels that don't do elevations are cheaper. Burger is a very good brand of level. Really, high-end brands, which are just, you know.
Is that a, you know, if it's like a USA company? or-
Yeah, Burger is a US company.
It's probably better term for that.
Yeah.
Do you trust American companies or like outside?
I trust American companies a lot. I think American goods are, for the most part, very well made.
Milwaukee American?
Pardon me?
Milwaukee American?
It used to be, I don't know if it is still. But if it's for tools, I like American made, but I really like Israel made, Italian made, Spanish made. Really good industrial size tools. So, and then anytime you can buy a German or Austrian tool, you're gonna have all the big engineering masters. It's the same thing, right? You have sight glass. And you focus like that. It's got a crosshairs. It's the same sight picture you'd see on that one. So that's that guy. This guy, let's go ahead and I'll put him up. And now it's standing right in people's eyes. Yeah, put you like that.
This one self-level?
This will
Okay.
Yeah, this will self-level. So these days, I'm not buying a level because it's self-level.
How much does this one cost?
This was $750, I think. So I've got to,
Puts out one level.
I've got to unlock it and then turn it on. So you see it spin? You can control, it's spinning at a high speed right now. You can control that.
Oh, yeah, it's red. So you really can't see the red in the sun.
Oh. I can spin it faster, slower. Okay, so leave the lights on. So because the red laser is pretty hard to see, the beauty of it is that you can use one guy can shoot levels. One guy. One guy with a stick, with a receiver. And you can have this thing be audible or not. So it will receive. Mistake on their part.
Does it come with a receiver?
Yeah, comes with the receiver. Everything you see in it doesn't come with a tripod. Comes with these guys, which I probably should be wearing. I can't see. And it comes with the receiver. So I'm gonna turn the receiver on. It's not audible. So you can just see. Okay, can you see the receiver? Telling me to go up, telling me to go up, telling me to go up, telling me to go up. But why do I want to do that when all I gotta do is go like that? And that tells me. Is it solid? So then I would just. And so that establishes my 4 foot and just under half an inch.
I think I'd take the telescope over that. thing.
One guy, it's one less guy I gotta pick. So, and I like doing stuff by myself. So I can get over here, right?
Pick it up even.
Go over here. It's low by, I just picked this thing up about a 1/4 inch off the ground. So the floor dips off from where I hit there. It's low about a 1/4 inch. This is just telling me about the floor as I step on it. That's just pretty much right on where that is. So I'd say that's dead level. But that's how this works. Works inside or out, in a darkened room with the shades down. You can see this light sometimes, but I like it because I can set it up really quick. And I can shoot grades by myself. I can shoot levels and grades. I can set this guy up and I can walk up to somebody's forms and I can set it on the forms and I can see if these forms are level. And then my concrete guy, if it's beep over here and it's beep, 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 beep over here, we're going, your forms are on level. And if I lift it up and it's maybe an eighth off, I'll go for that. You can see as you move it up and down. Yeah. For the bottoms of footing trenches. So you want to get level. Well, that kind of bottom footing was. Bottom of the footing trench you just dug. Throw it over here. You want to know what's going on with existing grade. Throw it on grade here, and then go read it back there and lift it up, or just shoot grade here, 4.5 feet, and then walk up to this next grade 40, 50 feet later, which is what I was doing on the house I just built last year, and shoot another grade and move this guy up and up and up and up and up and up. And it's 7 feet. And actually it's going to go down and down and down and down. If the hill's going up, this is going to go down. If the hill's going down, this is going to go up, right? So as I walk up this hill and drop this thing, and say I had 4.5 feet, and this thing reads 3.5 feet, I know that I went a foot downhill in however many feet I went. So I can use those numbers on my plot plan to lay out. I can do topos like that, or I can lay out initial rough grading, even get finished grades like that. And you set that level up while you're grading. So your graders are on the site, grading the site. And you've got that guy set up, and you can drive stakes and put marks on your stakes. And you can work the levels of the level of the grades of a rough site and an improved site as you're improving the site. And then it's always great to be when you're so. We're gonna look at layout, right? And look at lot, come to a lot and laying out a building. This is a good layout tool. Strings are great, batter boards are great, surveyors are great. Establishing building corners is really good. But once you establish building corners and get your lot laid out on your building footprint laid out on the lot, then you've got to start digging the footings. Even if it's slab on grade, you can have footings, but you have footings regardless. And your footings are generally dug in the ground. They're poured into the ground, although some forming, if they're up above the ground, they're formed above the ground. Their forms usually drop down into footing, but most of your footer is in the ground. And then if you have walls coming up, if you have foundation walls, stem walls, that you're going to put a mud sill on and a rim joist, and you're going to have a raised foundation. Those guys are formed after your footings. They can be poured monolithically too, but and I said a lot of stuff that you may not have got, but try to picture wooden forms all over your site, describing the exact footprint of the building that you're going to build off of. And what do you want that slab to be, or what do you want that footing to be? You want it to be level, because we build level. And if your foundation is out of level, you're just kind of screwed the whole way. You have to make it up somewhere. So it's really important that it's level. It's not only important as it's level, it's important that your hold downs. Remember we talked about hold downs? Yeah. Your hold downs, your builder's hardware. It's really important that is where it goes, where it's supposed to go.
When you have like a big grade decline, you want an even foundation, you just bring the footings up
Well,
Or do you?
there's a
put
variety of
dirt?
ways to do that. There's stepped footings where your footings step. So it depends on how your building's designed. If your building's gonna have a basement, right? With grades like that, the building's gonna have a basement, and how you're gonna support that cantilever up there. You know, you may just be doing a perimeter footing and then posting up columns, steel columns, wood columns. You may. Yes.
So if you want to make sure your HDUs are like level, you measure off the top of the HDU or chapter 9?
Yeah, you wouldn't, you don't care about your HDUs being level per se. You care about that your HDUs are in the right place. Based on where they need to be when the framing member goes down and you slip that thing over it and you screw it or bolt it to the framing member. It needs to be in the right place in the footing. Level is gonna be, you're gonna want your whole footing or whole slab to be level. And in that case, you can, like I said, you can walk around, your concrete guy's got the footings all ready to go and steel's all tied and all that, or maybe even before they've tied all the steel. You're just gonna walk around there, beep, 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 and then just walk around everywhere. Because that thing, when it goes flat with a solid beep, 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 that's where it's, you've just adjusted that now. And that's level. And that solid beep should be everywhere you put that thing on a footing. And if it's not, that's a problem. And if it's, you know, if it's a little bit, if you, you know, if you're just going like that or dropping it a 16th of an inch, you're not going to care about that. But if it's beep, 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 and you all of a sudden you got that thing an inch up, no, that's not acceptable. Anything at a half inch, I would be going, hey, dude, not level. That's just one of the things. Besides grades, you definitely would use it like footings and foundation layout. Now we're going to.
Just a quick question on
Yeah.
this. We started doing this over at East Campus where we're putting our slab.
You're starting to lay out that now?
Yeah, we've already trenched the sewer line and we transited with the landscape construction class the
Okay,
last
okay.
2 weeks.
So did you lay out your form? Do you have the form in?
No, I staked it out though. I haven't laid it out.
Okay,
I
so-
wanted to ask
So
you.
stop right there,
Okay,
because after you answer your question, and we get through a little bit of this, then we're gonna transition right into, I'm gonna bring up the plans that I did. I drew plans for that today.
okay, cool.
Just kind of made it up.
Yeah,
And it's not that, it doesn't have to be the plan you guys use.
yeah,
I made it up, but it's, you know, and I'll show it to you, and I brought up, also, I'll show you, and I'll show, you guys look at my back again, so sorry. Let me show you my back. I'll show everybody, the hardware that I'm planning for you to use, the lumber, the plan's got a takeoff on it.
sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to just pick your brain about the form. 'cause
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
just talking about form and.
The forms, yeah, because they need
Digging down.
footings. They need
Right.
footings for the posts.
So for that, would you want to dig down and have your 4-inch sand layer
Yeah.
in the ground and then have the concrete form?
You know,
above the ground?
you guys could, depending on what that soil's like, you could probably just go down and go on mineral soil, just make sure.
And
it's
not have the sand,
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not that big a deal. The
but still
sand,
have the rebar.
yeah, definitely want the steel. You
Yeah.
have to have the steel.
Right.
You could get away with 6'6", 10'10", which is 6-inch square welded steel wire,
Right,
10 gauge.
okay,
You put that up on Adobe's, and Adobe is a concrete block. It goes in the dirt or sand and holds your steel or your welded wire in the middle of your forms, middle of your concrete.
yeah, because you're saying no sand anymore.
You know, I'd have to look at the soil. If the soil looks fairly undisturbed, it formed nice and flat, and it's not, you're not gonna be building off the thing.
Right,
And essentially, the way I've got it figured, I'll show you, the load points are in footings. The rest of the slab is just, you're gonna have people walking on it.
I think Mark Broomfield, head of grounds, is gonna do for it,
Okay?
and he was saying, yeah, we can just do it right on the dirt.
Yeah. You can. So are there any questions? You had a question? Any other questions?
I was just gonna say, would you use this, like the spinning laser level for like a waterproof deck to see like the slope?
Oh,
with the
hell,
receiver?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, anything. It's the reason why I wanted John to bring his level, because that's a pretty cool tool. And the green is so much more visible than the red. And it also will take a receiver. The green laser light will trigger a receiver, an audible receiver or another kind of receiver, just a visual receiver. It's small, It's not spinning around, and yet it does all the way around the room. This is pretty much what you want if you're, I would, kind of work that I did, this is what I want. But if I was working again, I might definitely get that thing that Charlie's got, just to have it in my tools and not have to carry this the whole time. And break this guy out for shooting grades and stuff like that, and, you know, checking forms, and then have that little guy for more interior stuff and jams, and, you know, and the cool thing about it is you can just screw it to a stud. The ones you can buy now, you can just screw it to a stud, and you can get any level you want. So let's say you have at 6'8", right, 80 inches, and you got a hallway of doors, and you want that hallway of doors to plane the whole way. And it's really important too, because you got corners coming together. You can't have stuff off. So you could actually nail that to the stud and have that laser line right where you want to set your jams, right on the inside of your jam, and just leave it running. And just go set all your jams and make sure your jams are all set so that laser line is cut right under the bottom of the jam on every single jam. That's just one way you can use them. So it's a great way to do level, because if you're not using a laser to do level, and you're not doing, you use transits and builder's levels to get level over long distances. If you're not using those levels, you're using shorter levels, like those levels, those taller levels, those 6-foot levels, 2-foot levels, or 3-foot levels, right? They're accurate to a point, because they all depend on they depend on the human being able to read the bubble, and the bubble being right in, you know, exactly in the middle of the line. So this takes a lot of that out of it. Dead level is dead level, and you'd be surprised how many things about a house, build a house, something built, it should be level and plumb, and flat aren't. It's amazing. Oh man, it's like you're gonna, God, how do we ever do this? Lots and lots of stuff is not plumb and level, and when it is plumb and level, things work the way they should work. Plumb and level. So let's take a look at this. You guys, I'm gonna move this over here, and then I'm gonna share a screen with everybody. I'm gonna show you this thing that we're gonna try to do in here. It's my plan right now to do this project. Says lock me. That's cool. It actually said that in laser.
What you just lock?
So it doesn't spin around. So when you take it off that and transport it, it wants you to lock that down. And if you're gonna get it sticks, $100, the tripods are at least 100 plus. You're gonna spend $1,000 bill for tax. And by the way, tax is 8.75%. We went over this the other night, and I could not remember what the damn tax is around here. None of you could either. It's 8.75%, right? Right? It's 8.75%.
What's the brand of the orange one?
It's I think I know, because it's kind of an off brand. It's a Johnson. It's not, which is not that off, actually. Johnson's are pretty, I just not used to this color Johnson thing.
What's the one that you use that you used to use? Can you remember?
Yeah, I think it was a burger, but I can't really remember. I got like 4 stolen.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're highly prized things for thieves. So
The Bosch ones are really nice. They're like that.
Yeah. Yeah, they had, I'm trying to think of the ones, because I was looking at, when I bought this for the school, why not? There's something else I wanted, I just can't remember right now. Go see what the mucho. Okay. So over at horticulture, Santa Barbara City College.
Did you talk about it with Mike, who was here the other day?
I did a little bit, but he doesn't really care.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be, he doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't care at all, and
He just wants it done.
yeah, he wants it done. I think he's got enough on his plate. So, okay, so we're off. We're recording, right, Zach?
We sure are.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna share a screen. Somebody want to break these down for me? They can go away and just put them on the tabletop, please. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen with y'all now, and I want to share with the folks here with me in class, which means some lights. Okay, and we're gonna have some light soon enough. Soon enough. Thanks, Brent. Brent, how's your school? Still working? Ain't it?
That's solid. I sanded it a little bit.
Oh, right on.
No paint. Draw.
If you jazz it up, you gotta bring it in and show us.
All right.
All right, great. Thank you so much for doing that. All right, here we go. Let's go to my email. Let's see if this will let me log in. Huh, it did. It hasn't been. Okay, I'm pretty sure that I sent this stuff over here. And I did. Okay. So this. Oh, it's as small as I can get it, huh? Yeah. All right. So there's a down view. Okay, so just to give you some prep, you guys can hear me okay on Zoom?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. And you can see that okay?
Yes.
So I met with Lou S. And I don't know if I showed you this, but I just made a little dimension sketch. Made a very few notes. Can't show this to you guys at home. I'll show it to you guys. Right? Sketch with a few notes, not much. Totally not to scale. And then my notes had to do with dimensions. I dimensioned the sketch. And then Mike gave me Lou gave me a couple more pieces of feedback about how big or small they wanted the thing. So I wound up drawing it with a 5x15 slab. I was going to put it on my drafting board and draw it to a much bigger scale, but I didn't have very much time this afternoon. I just wanted to whip it out. So I could have a cut list and just kind of take the next step further, so at least we could be discussing it. So I drew it on 8.5 by 11, and I drew it to 3/8 scale. So when you draw it to scale, when you draw yourself to scale, you want to draw the scale, the largest scale you can fit on the page. So that having been said, that 15 feet, I did it in 3/8 scale. That was the longest dimension I was going to have to show in scale. I could have turned it sideways, but I wanted to show my side view down below it. So I decided to put it widthwise the 15 feet. 1/2 inch scale is too big to go across that thing. So 3/8 scale it was, and 3/8 scale used up almost all the page. So I made it the biggest scale I could. I drew the slab 15 wide, 5. And the other things you see are 6 inches in, and 6 inches in is the start of a 6x6 post. 6 inches in, 6 inches in, And I'd probably put 6 inches on there. If I didn't get to. And I didn't show it there either, so, yeah, so I would flesh that out. Show a 6-inch dimension. Those are the 2x4 rafters, there's 9 of them, on 2-foot centers approximately, 2-foot centers. To use this corrugated metal roofing. I brought it in 6 inches, and the reason why I did that, 3 inches is the minimum for this embedment. So right there, I didn't draw them, but those posts, those 6x6 posts, would be fastened to the concrete with what's called a CB or column base. This is a CBSQ. And CBSQ is not that column base, but that column base. It's a CBSQ 66 SDS 2.5 for purposes of argument, and it's right down somewhere. So this is an SD because this goes down into the concrete. It shows it there in the concrete, 3 inches minimum away from each edge of the slab. And then this flange, which if you go down and read the H, right? It's the H dimension on the flange. It's up 8 3/4. So 8 3/4 up is this flange, and that flange is bolted to the 6x6 with SDS screws, as opposed to through bolts or lag bolts. Through bolts go all the way through. So this CB, this column base right here, that's meant to be tacked and then through bolted. Same thing there, tacked. It's the same piece of hardware, and then through bolted. You could conceivably in a 6x6 run a couple of lags, like 2.5-inch lags, 2.5-inch lags, 2.5-inch lags from either side, right? You can run 2.5-inch lags, but it's really meant to be through bolted. But for the same strength, or really more, you can get the CBS 66 SD, which takes these SD screws. Which you just drive. You drive with an impact driver, you drive with a good driver. You don't have to pilot them. You just drive themselves right into your wood, and then specify the screws. You take 14 4x2s, SDS screws. Yes.
So this from a lag bolt and a SDS screw is bigger.
A lag bolt's going to be considerably bigger. It'll be probably 1/2 inch. That hole right there, and the ones that you would put through bolt or lag in. That hole right there is probably for a 1/2 inch bolt. Could be 5/8 bolt. So it's much bigger. A much bigger pilot hole, much more torque to crank that in, and then you've got 2 points of purchase on there. The best way to do it would be a through bolt. Would be to bore all the way through, and then put a hex-headed bolt, machine bolt with a washer or not, and a nut and a washer on the backside of it. That would be the strongest connection. Simpson might argue that. The engineering might say I'm wrong on that, and that this is a strong connection because this is what they're pushing now. They're pushing the SDS screws, and as you can see, 14 of them go in there. What, 1, 2, 3, 7 aside. So the whole thing is that marries that column, that 6x6 post sits on. See, this place is flush with the slab, and this metal right here, it sits above the slab. So your post is not sitting on the slab, it's not on the grade, it's sitting on a piece of metal off grade, and it's anchored. This post column base is down in the concrete, whatever it is, the D dimension. It's 5.5, it's 6 1/4 down in the concrete, surrounded by concrete, and then the post is married to it with 14 SDS screws. It's really married to it. So it really marries the column to the column base, which is married to the slab. So it marries your column to the slab, big time. because by the time we get this roof on, a solid roof, this sheet metal roof, steel colored corrugated roof, 8-foot panels, would take 8 of them to do the whole thing. You're gonna have a pretty decent sail there. So when a good gust of wind comes off the harbor, it's gonna be coming just like this too. So wait, we're gonna do the other one. We're gonna shred it off the back. Yeah, okay, well, that's cool. That's cool. But at any rate, then the wind would be coming off the harbor like this, a good gust of wind, there's gonna be a lot of resistance right there. It's gonna be, this is gonna wanna be, everything's gonna wanna be really well anchored. And so these 4x10 headers, which are carrying 2x4 roof rafters, which are blocked in between. So we can nail them, and they'll be toenailed and then 835s. I haven't kind of fleshed it out, but they're anchored with it's called a CC or column cap. That's column cap. And that is the column cap we would be using right there, except it'd be a 66 SDS. So it'd be this guy right here. It'd be a CCQ 66 SDS. That's 0.2.5. The 2.5, that's the width of the flange. You see the flange is what? It's 8.5 of flange. That shows on the post. That slips down over the post, and the header goes through that. And that marries the header to the post with SDS screws, lots of them. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 on this guy, and 4, 5, 20 on that guy. There's the guy we'd use. Tells you all the specs on it, so you can, so you know what you're getting. Pretty sure Hayward stocks these. So that we're using a Simpson column base to support and marry the columns to the slab, and then up here on the headers, we're going to use a column cap, Simpson column cap to support the headers. And then these guys will just lay across and roll over and toenail and then block in between. And then we'll put A35 clips. And if I went to the Simpson catalog, I could show you an A35 clip. But it's a clip that turns over and it nails the rafter to the header. Shear clip. So we use a lot of Simpson galvanized hardware. I think the column caps are stainless, so they're going to do well to the weather. They also paint up great. They'll lock everything together without a whole lot of nails. Makes it pretty clean. And then I just did a 8-foot 2x roof with a big eaves, so it'd be shade on. As you can see, if you on a down view of this, the slab being 5 feet, and basically 8 foot. It's on the rake, so it's a little bit less than 8 foot because it's on an angle, and 8 foot on the flat. But it's not much of a rake, and so the cantilever is about 1.5 feet on either side of shade past that. And it's actually even more than that because that's 6 inches in, so it's a 2-foot cantilever. Either side.
What is this big notebook?
There's going to be a sink hooked up, big long stainless steel sink and countertops and stuff. Commercial sink that they salvage out somewhere. It's going to be plumbed and gray of our system to do wash plantings and plants and do all the stuff to do with plants, right?
Yeah, harvesting vegetables.
Harvesting
for the
vegetables, washing vegetables,
for the food
vegetable washing sink, and it'll give them shade to stand under, and it'll shade the sink. And that's just, and again, this is based on your 5 foot, 15 foot, right? It's not what I would have come up with. I would have built a bigger structure. In other words, if I'm going to build a structure, I want to build a bigger structure.
Right.
Why not? Let's face it. But you guys are running this thing, so this I have hard copies that I'm going to hang on to, but I'll email this to you and just show you guys and just see if this works. Or do you want to make it bigger? Do you want to make it wider? Do you want to shrink it? Do you like it at all?
Right.
But I add through this to scale. And by drawing it to scale, I basically built it. I built it each block. I figured out the span of the headers. I figured out the size of the posts I wanted. I figured out the size of the column caps and column bases. You know, I figured everything out with a 7mm pencil, 1/4" graph paper, and scale rule, and a 30-60 triangle. And now, once I've got a plan, now anybody can bid this, but nobody's going to bid it because it's all going to be built probably by us. So we'll be able to take this, hopefully, take this cut list. If they do their slab right, or however they do their slab, as long as these points, there, 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 and there, they all have those, as long as they're actually there, as long as that top piece of metal there is dead level, we're golden. Even if it's slightly 16th and 8th. It doesn't matter much, but it's not, it's certainly well within everybody's skill level, I think, to get that thing dead level. And with that being the case, then we should be able to cut our, oh, by the way, Lewis.
Yeah.
So the footings, I mean, 18-inch wide footing by 12-inch deep, and that's 18-inch square by 12 deep just at the corners.
12 deep with concrete.
12 deep in concrete, 18 wide at the corners. That's to get the column bases. That's where the weight is. The rest of the slab is fine at 3.5 inches.
Right.
If
Yeah,
we
we
do a thickened edge,
Yeah.
which is what we typically do, right? We
Okay.
just go ahead and make a little trough, so it's a little thicker, you know, at the outside edges.
Yeah.
But
Just for those 4 points or
Four
for the
corners.
whole-
4 corners, all I need.
And then
Is
the
that
rest
18
just 4 inches.
Yeah. You just need the footings where that load is, and then everything's tied together, right? The whole slab is all tied in with steel.
How do you set the column bases? Do you drive a stake or something through the bottom of them? I saw a little slit on the bottom.
Yeah, no, they, you can bed them in wet concrete.
Okay.
You can stake them with rebar. And then pour up to them, but I like to bed them in wet concrete. Yeah, if concrete's good and wet, then you get them right down on top of it. You can do some finishing, do all your screeding, and then get them in there. So you get that bottom just.
And then pour the rest.
Yeah, well, the rest is already poured. You poured the whole slab, right? You poured those slabs, and there's nothing in the corners.
Right,
And
right.
now you lay out, it's not that tough to get 6 and 6. I take it back, we'll probably set them first. Because I want that 6 and 6 is important, so maybe stake with rebar. And yeah, 18 by 18 by 12-inch deep footing, and that's gives us a footing for the column bases. But so with that done, if that's done right, and that is level, it would help if it's done square too, and we'll talk a little bit about square. Let's have some time tonight to talk about square. Then we can just cut in here. We can have a lumber drop here. We could set up outside with lights, and we can cut all this stuff. We can cut it all here. We can basically make this thing a kit. We can cut our 2 6x6, two 6x6 posts by 8, 2 6x6 posts by 7.6, 6 inches in whatever this span is, 4 feet. We're dropping 6 inches. So I think that gives us something like a 3 and 12 pitch. Plenty of pitch. We could do less pitch.
How did you pick your like heights and sizes?
I'm sorry.
How did you pick your heights and sizes? and roof?
Boards, nominal boards, 8 foot, right? 8 foot board, 7.6 I can cut out. Nominal, and also know the 8 foot, their ceiling heights, right? And at 8 foot, and then, and I'm talking about 8 foot, you can walk underneath this, and at 7.6, you can definitely walk underneath it too. You want it high for, you know, tall people carrying stuff. Doesn't need to feel like this, and then you can hang stuff from the rafters, you can hang herbs and stuff you're drying from the rafters, you can do all kinds of stuff. And this would be a cool little structure, but we should be able to cut all 4 posts exact. Cut the headers exact. We'll cut them, we'll get 2/16s and 100 by 18s. If we get checked ins, I'll have to ask those guys if I can get usable. I'm thinking we'll probably do 18s, then cut them to 16, finish, and then finish off the ends either corbel cut or chamfer. I'm somehow clean them up nicely here. And then our 9 2x4 rafters, and then I forgot down here, we also need 4 2x4 by 8 foot to do blocking, to do what we call freeze blocking. And then there's our column bases, 4 of them. There are column caps, 4 of them. There's a roofing, 8 sheets. And there's a roofing. So I designed this based on material, 2-foot centers. Look for some roofing material like this, like the idea of steel. It's going to be helping with being a bit reflective. And all the polycarbonate stuff was not going to completely shade it. This is complete shade. Yes.
I was a little confused about the blocking. What exactly? I was a little confused about the blocking. What exactly?
Okay, so it's called freeze block, F-R-I-E-Z-E. And the blocking keeps these guys from rolling over, right? So this is so between each one of these is a block. And it's gonna follow its square. So we use a 2x4 block. It won't be a plumb block, this will be a square block. And the freeze block, you might be cutting, you might be ripping the top of one, but this guy will just put a plumb and it'll allow us to nail them together. It'll keep them from collapsing. That's pretty much what it does. And it also keeps the wind from whistling on through it. So it stops the wind from. I could have hung these, could have hung them in between, but I really wanted an eave. There are a lot of ways this could have been done. Yep. You may, Matthias. Let's take a break. We're gonna, it's 6 minutes until 8. Come back at 10 after, and then we'll do just a wrap up. Okay. Come back at 10 after, you guys.
Okay.
Then I will pause the recording. Start recording. Gotcha, Zach. Totally beat you to the punch, dude. I knew you were waiting with your finger on the button there, but I got it first. Okay, so everybody's back. Michael's back with his new short haircut. Brian's done messing with his hair. Everybody back here? Okay, good. We're recording, and let's do. I want to do 2 things. 2 things with you. And the first thing I'm going to do is share a screen, and let's get out of here. Looked at that. There. Let's go here. Let's go. So I test drove one of these yesterday. You guys seen this? Oh, look at that. Lights. Yeah, it's the new Volkswagen all electric vehicle, the ID.4. It's pretty space age, and it's pretty dang affordable too. I mean, the base price at 40 grand, you get $7,500 back at 3 years of no, you don't have to pay for electricity for your charges if you charge in these particular fast charging stations, but that's kind of BS really. But 7,500 is real, and the 40 grand is real. And if they want to lease it to you, you can't buy them. This is the one I'm getting right here. This one, yeah, with a black roof, white with a black roof and 20-inch wheels. Oh, baby, and it's for my wife. Yeah, it's for my wife. I'm sorry, honey. Can I have the car? No, but I thought you bought me a car. Yeah, I know. You don't have to drive my car. It's you can't buy them. You can only build them. You can order them, you can reserve them, and then when it's time to build them, they'll say, okay, you got to jump to one more hoop, and then they'll build it, and then you track it all the way across the ocean. And then 3 to 6 months, supposedly, and it's all electric. And what Jazz is big too, and it's pretty good size. The fit and finish is simple. It's Volkswagen's. They've completely reinvented themselves since the debacle of 5 years ago. And Volkswagen, their name just went, went away. They reinvented themselves, and this is their idea, their version of the 2021 Beetle. You know, when Beetle came out, I had a 1961 Beetle. It came out, what, 50 something? They were not only iconic, but they were what the world needed at the time. They were so wildly successful, it's beyond belief. Because there really hasn't been a car like the Volkswagen Beetle. The Volkswagen hasn't really done a whole lot since. And with this car, I think they may have nailed it. Because it's relatively simple, as space age as it is, it's relatively simple. It's 260 miles on a charge. So the charger you buy with it plugs into your 110 15 amp outlet, and it charges your car in 14 hours. So that's an overnight. So the guy was saying to me, salesman was saying, oh yeah, you're gonna need to get a fast charger. Well, why? Who's out driving at night? You know, our cars get home for the day and they're home. Our almost never do. But then there's fast charging stations, and you can get a fast charger if you have 240 volts. You can charge them in 7 hours. But I'm really stoked. I haven't bought a new car in a long time. I'm really stoked about it. I'm really stoked for my wife. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to let her drive it though. Yeah, that would be terrible, wouldn't it? If I bought her a car and then she never got to drive it.
What does she drive right now?
She has a Prius. Yeah. She has yeah, it is. She likes her Prius. Prius is a great car, really. I mean, Prius is a #1 selling Toyota for a reason. It's not because it's just ugly. It's a great car, great mileage, it's a big car for a car that's small. It's a big car, but I want to go electric, man. I mean, ideally, I want to do. I have about a 12 kW system on my roof that I sell back to Edison. I get money back every year. But you know, if you have rooftop solar, you probably don't have a battery. You probably sell your stuff to Edison, and you just pay whoever has your solar. Yeah.
Have you looked at the F-150 Lightning?
No, but I've been hearing about him, and Jim's got he's reserved one. Yeah, I don't want another truck. I got a big diesel, 3/4 ton diesel. I don't want another truck, but it's unreal, isn't it? It lights up your house.
Yeah, I found that really crazy because it's like you can power your house for like what they said a couple of days on the battery that
Yeah,
it has.
I know.
Which is just
What? But battery walls. So conceivably, if I added some kW to my roof and I have plenty of roof to do it on, plenty more roof that doesn't have panels, and install the battery wall, I could get off the grid. Not there yet. Wouldn't that be cool to be making your own power, powering your, all your appliances, your refrigerator, your car? It's just it's unreal, man. As long as the sun shines, and we're in a good place for that. All righty, let's go to the book. Let's go to the book because Jim. Oh, now, does everybody have the 12th edition? Because I was trying to find it, and I couldn't find it today.
yeah.
I could not find it. They're trying to sell the 13th now. Do you have 13th?
Yeah, the bookstore gave me a 13th.
They did.
Patrick said it's terrible.
The 13th?
Yeah.
So who just said that you got a 13th?
Connor.
So Connor, when you went to get this book, they sold you the 13th edition.
Yeah, they told me that they didn't have any 12th edition.
Well, that's too bad. That's really
Yeah.
bad. Now the content in the chapters that we've been going through is not any different. I don't think you're going to find much. And I can't say for sure, but Jim assures me it's hardly different. The difference is that review questions and all the questions, the content being the same, if you study the content, it won't really matter the questions because the same stuff is going to be in there. The content's going to be the same. So raise your hand if you have the 12th edition. So most everybody here has the 12th edition. Claire, you don't have a book?
I have 12.
You have, pardon me?
I have 13.
You have 13. Okay. So raise your hand if you have 13. Claire only, and then somebody else at home has 13. So we'll try to get you the corollary if there is one, right? But from 12 to 13. But I have 12. And we're gonna look just a little bit at 8. Jim wanted me to go over 8 a little bit with you, so let's just whip through it super fast. First page talks about the Vernier scale. You know what? Plot plans, we talked about that, establishing building lines. Your lot, if you're gonna build off a lot, get it surveyed. And if you get your lot surveyed, or if you have an older survey that you can locate your monuments, that's what these are. There's monuments in those corners, that's what surveyors find. And they go off those monuments to determine your property line, by stakes and put numbers on them and stuff like that. But what we like to do before I build is I like to have the property surveyed, and I like to get my building corner done by the surveyor. It's the way to go. It just takes the onus off the builder and puts it on the surveyor, and it's kind of like, I can change my own oil. Why would I? And I can lay out my own building, but why would I when a surveyor, that's all he does. So if I can afford it, if it's part of my budget, I'm gonna include having a surveyor my building lines. If it's a good sized building, if it's something small, then that's a no brainer. But this is a big building. If you had just had this lot, unimproved lot, I would have the surveyor lay that out in a heartbeat. I'd have him lay that out. Tapes, right? We talked about setbacks. We talked about setbacks. When you lay out a building anywhere, you got to be aware of the setbacks. They're different from county to county, really even city to city. Ours are generally 6 foot side yard setbacks, 6 foot setback in the backyard, but sometimes you go to 10, 6 foot and then 10, 6 to 10, and then front yard setbacks are generally 20 feet. Setbacks. And then there are setbacks where you can put a fence or a hedge. Within 6 feet of the street, you can only put a 4.5 foot high fence or hedge. 6 foot back, you can go 6 feet. And those are all our county stuff. And then tape. This is a 100-foot tape. This is besides a 25-foot tape measure. I prefer Stanley, unless you know why, because I like 3 inches. You have to add 3 inches when you do an inside measurement. Is that this is a good little Lufkin 100-footer. Usually it serves most all layout. I gotta do rarely lay out anything over 100, and if I do, I can double it up. It's a good thing to have. 100-foot tape. They're relatively cheap. They're, $15, $20 maybe. Driving corner. I'm going to let you guys read this. I'm not going to read it with you. We're going to go through it really fast because I want to get to this place. I want to get to this place right here. Okay, so everybody see that? All right.
Yes.
Lights. What's that say? Who knows what that is? Does everybody know what it is? What is it?
If I remember correctly, it's to calculate the hypotenuse of a triangle.
Yeah, it has to do with the hypotenuse
A
of the
squared,
triangle.
A squared plus B squared plus C squared.
Yes, right. It's essentially, it's the principle behind the right triangle or 90 degree, the right angle. To check square, especially in a building layout, we use 3, 4, 5 or Pythagorean theorem a lot. And it's Pythagorean theorem is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. There's other ways to say it, square root of, just suffice to say that we call it a 3, 4, 5 triangle because 3, 4, 5, or 3, 4, 5. Doesn't really matter which is 3, which is 4 here. But the hypotenuse is 5. That 3, 4, 5 means that 9, 16, 25, 12, 12, 16, 25, wait. No, yeah, 9, 16, 25, right? 9, 16, 25. Yeah. So any multiples thereof. So if we do, let's say we want 2, let's say this is too short. We want to get square on a run that's pretty long, like 50 feet by 30 feet. So we want to come out from our corner. We've established a point, right? Now we want to square a corner. We can go ahead and pull a line. We can pull a line as long as we want to. Get it anchored. Now we want to come perpendicular off that line. We want an exact 90 degrees, right? So we kind of eyeball the 90-degree line and we pull it out of ways. And we drop a stake or a batter board, but we want to be able to move one of these lines, the one that we're trying to get squared up. So let's say we've established this as the line. This is our line. So this plane is a straight line, and then we want a perpendicular line going this way. So we pull a string. We got a guy holding the string, and we got this one staked, wrapped around a stake, and we got it pulled and staked. It's nice and taut. And that's off that plane. We know that's our plane. Now we just want a 90 degree. 90 degrees. So we can come up with what we think is 90 degrees and run it out there and have somebody hold it, or have a batter boards. Batter boards are a stake, nailed in between, and then you can bring a string over it and tie it to it. Put a notch in it. You can make marks on a batter board. So you got your string going over a batter board. Farther than you know you're going to go. So you're going to go 30 feet. You're out there 35 feet with your batter board. You can pull your string past. You just need to get that perpendicular. And all you need to do then is anchor that string in what you think is perpendicular, what you think is 90 degrees, right? That's anchored. This is dead anchored. It's wrapped around. It's not going to move. This one is not going to move for now. And then you take your Sharpie and you run out here 15 feet, right? 15 feet. And then you run out here because 4 times 3, I'm sorry, let's use 5. 5 times 3 is 15 feet. And now we're going to go to the 4. So 5 times 4 is 20. So we run out there 15, run out here 20, right? And now 4 times the 5, no wait, sorry. Yeah, 5 and then this needs to be 25. You guys get that? Yeah, sorry, I know I confused some of you. If you run out 3 feet and 4 feet and connect the dots, when you hold your tape on that mark on this one, you bring it over to here, it should read 5 feet. And if it doesn't read 5 feet, you're going to move that until it does. So you can see how if you're running a 30 or 40 foot run out here on a 30-foot line, you don't want to do a 3, 4, 5. You want to go out further. You don't want to make any mistakes on that. So I would go out and use a factor of 5, right? So on the 3, 4, 5 triangle, 3 times 5 is 15 feet that way. 5 times 4, 20 feet that way. And then 5 times 5, you need to have 25. So you'd have a tape like this, or a tape like this. You have a guy holding on 1, and you're over here, right? Holding on 25, and you or someone is manipulating that string until you have exactly 25 feet. So it's around that way, 15, 20, 25, which is the same as 3, 4, 5. And the minute that thing comes into reading 25, you have a perfectly square right triangle corner. And then do it from that point. Do the same thing that way. Do it 3, 4, 5 that way, and move that guy until it's dead on. You get the hypotenuse right. You get that 3, 4, that 5, however you do it. And then nail that one and stake it on the, you know, as far as you want to go, and then come over square and do it again to that. Now you should have a square building, right? You should have a square lines laid out for your platform. How can you check that?
We do the crawl, you go from corner, make the X, and the X should be the same.
You can't put a framing square on it. It's not enough 50 by 30. You know, you can't. There's no way. So to check yourself for square, once you've done 3, 4, 5s, rotate, pull it taut as heck from corner to corner. If it's square, it'll be the exact same number. If it's not square, it won't be the exact same number. If those numbers are off, you are not square. Now, in a 30 by 50 run, if you're off like a 16th or an 8th, I'm going to call it square. In a 4 by 4 or 5 by 5 or 6 by 6 or 7 by 7 or 8 by 8, I'm not calling it square until it's dead on. Bigger, you know, we can be 16th out of square and 150 square feet. Or that case, what, 1,500 square feet. So you get any questions on the Pythagorean theorem on the 3, 4, 5 triangle? You can use that 3, 4, 5 triangle on anything. But it's especially handy for laying out. Now, when we did, I'll finish with this. I'll tell you guys this little anecdote and I'm gonna let you go. But when we laid out the book building, everything was square. There was very few things that were square in the footings we were laying. But everything was square to the XYZ coordinate. So I had surveyed the X coordinate, which is due north south, as surveyor layout, due north south, and the Y coordinate, which is due east west. They crossed exactly 90 degrees to each other. And then the Z coordinate was the level of sea level at a certain control point. There were 21 load points throughout, but they were all laid out on the 3, 4, 5. So from the control point, it was X amount on the, say, 9 foot 9 and 9/16 on the X. And then you 3, 4, 5 and go the next number 8 and so whatever it was on the Y, and that was established point. And that's how we laid out every point in the place, all the 21 load points, and then tied together all the footings, but all 3, 4, 5. So the Pythagorean theorem, that 3, 4, 5 triangle, is used extensively in building layouts. That's how we find these larger buildings on larger lots, and we find their corners to be square. How we make their corners square. So next week you're getting a quiz tonight. Not tonight, but a week from tonight. Quiz. So be sure and I think you should. Jim told you, or Jim will tell you tomorrow. Jim will tell you more about that quiz tomorrow. But I think it's a 100-point quiz, and I'm sure it's on the chapters up through 8. I don't think it's past that, but he would know better.
What about the field trip?
Yeah, the field trip. I really want to do the field. I'm gonna plan the field trip. I gotta talk to Jim about it. He kind of threw the kibosh on me because he wanted me to do this stuff that he does. So we'll have the test next week, and then I'm gonna try to do the field trip after that. Okay, but we're gonna do the field trip, and don't hesitate to bring it up.
Am I supposed to take a survey or something?
Yes, thank you. How'd you know?
I just heard, I remember. That's that.
God, I forgot that completely. So survey here, all of those here who would like to get an A in the class, raise your hand. Okay, survey's done. I knew it was gonna work out. So here's the survey. We'll want a show of hands if next semester, if you were to take the 111, this is beginning construction. 111 is the next course past. I'm sorry, this is basic beginning construction. I think it's intermediate construction, so it goes a little bit deeper in construction, either more in finishes and things like that. Would you prefer to have the lab from 8 to noon on Saturday? Or would you prefer to have it on Thursday night, same time, 6 to 10 supposedly. But the stated time will be 6 to 10 on Thursday night or 8 to noon on Saturday. So 8 to noon on Saturday, show of hands. 1, 2, you? No. Okay, so 2, and then the rest of you would out for Thursday evening? Okay, okay, so I kind of 2, no more than 3. And how about you guys at home? I didn't hear everybody chime in.
Yeah, I can make it.
So which would you prefer?
Probably Thursday.
Thursday? Anybody, so speak up if you prefer, Saturday, Saturday, 8 to 12. No? Okay, so it sounds like the preference, survey wise, would be in the evening. Now, Jim's thing is that he wants to teach it, but he doesn't want to teach it in the evening, and he's got a conflict. He wants to teach it Saturdays, and the point is there's a lot, you could do a lot more hands-on outside during the day on the class on Saturday morning. So we'll present it to you again. Personally, for myself, I play golf on Saturdays, so I do not want to teach it. Every time I have time on Saturdays, I try to get it done and then race off to tea time and have it work. So I try not to do that, but life's in flux. So yeah, see you all next week. We'll be prepared for that. If you as soon as Jim sends them to me, I'm going to ask him. Hey, you guys, see you next week. And now,
Hey,
Thank you,
Rod.
Rod.
Hey,
Thank you.
Rod, I have a quick question. Mike Silva.
if you can, and I'll answer your question, but if you guys can't come to the class to take my test, you need to come by tomorrow prior to, so we can make sure to figure out how to get your test. Mike, we know we got to do that with you, but everybody else, if you can't make it to take the test in person, because it's going to be a paper test, then you got to let us know beforehand so we can do something about it. Okay? Zach, Adair, and Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't be able to be in person next week.
Yeah, I won't either.
Is that
Rod, I had a quick question about the 111 class.
Yeah, shoot.
So you taught that last semester, right?
I did.
Yeah. And I was looking on my it's like the on Pipeline, it's like the class planning schedule basically. And it says that I failed that, but I know for a fact I didn't fail it.
No way you failed that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so I was just curious if there's any way you can look back in your books or if you have any ideas what I can do, because if I don't have to take it again next semester, I know for a fact I didn't
There's
fail
no
it.
way you have to do. There's no way you failed that class. There's no
Yeah.
way. I mean, unless Jim failed you, did you just not show up or something, or not take that?
No, I think I missed like maybe 4 classes the entire semester, and 2 of them I was out of town.
And you took the test, right?
Yeah, no, I took all the tests, so that's why.
So Jim is the one that submitted the grade, so you gotta call him and tell him that, and then he'll tell you what to do.
All right, sounds good. I'll talk to him. Thank you.
Okay, buddy.
All right.
And I'll see you on Zoom next week. And then Zach, email me, shoot me, Mike, I know you're gonna be on Zoom. Zach, shoot me an email, let me know. And Adair, you too, so I can figure out getting you guys, if you're not gonna make it to class to take that test, I can figure out how to get you guys a test.
Okay, I'll shoot you an email right now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
bye.
Adair, you there? You hear me? Adair, are you there? Adair?